Good evening and welcome to round 4 of the Automobilista Australia TCR Oz series. And tonight sees the boys tackle the Queensland Raceway circuit up in Ipswich. We've got about 8 minutes or so to go in practice session, so plenty of time to go over a number of, obviously, the championship standings, team standings and the like. But why don't we follow our championship leader around the circuit at the moment. Currently third in practice with a 1 minute 14.865. He's just been pipped by Brendan Ross and Dwayne Davies within the last couple minutes, but currently nothing much between them. And Brendan Ross will be glad to see his name towards the front end of the field after a shocking round at Malala in round 3. And Dwayne Davies looks to continue his hot form from, well, at least pace-wise throughout the past couple rounds, and he'll be hoping to have 2 clean races and put his pace that he has had to good use once again. So now we have Foley coming on the exit of turn 2. Now that will be one of the big talking points regarding the tyre life and setup, as will turn 3 here. Braking, as you can see, is going to be crucial, and it's very easy for drivers to overheat the brakes at this circuit, with pretty much every braking zone being a very big stop. And in fact, Foley now slowing down on this lap and going back to the pit. So that gives us opportunity just to go over the championship standings. And as you can see on your screen, Brenton Foley smoking the field at the moment on 266 points. Matt Williams, he's had a strong last few rounds and picking up the only non-Brenton Foley victory so far of the season. So he's on 184 at the moment. Brendan Ross had, shocking round at Malala. That sees him drop down to 3rd place. Dwayne Davies, again, he had the pace, snagged pole position in race 1, but was sent around by Brendan Ross on the opening lap in race 1, and that set the tone for Dwayne Davies' evening. And that is why he's on 159 points as opposed to a bit more. And then we have Netherelmian. Hasn't been the quickest out there, but he's been here each round and he's been nice and consistent as well. So that's why he sits there in 5th place in the standings. And then we have Gary Neville, 137 points, who unfortunately won't be here this evening. A late dropout after injuring his shoulder within the last couple of days, and will be unable to participate this evening. So hopefully, Gary, you get well soon, and we'll see you back at the next round. In P7, we have Cracker, who's equal on points with Luke Joyner on 117. Cracker, whose last round at Malala was quite handy, but both he and Mike Coulston were quite quick around there and consistent, and both of them sharing a podium each. And then Luke Joyner, whose first races have never really been his strong suit, as he doesn't do much practice, but his paces in the second races has enabled him to jump up and equal Cracker on 117. Then we have Steve Bolger on 116, who's shown flashes of pace. And as I say that, looking at the timing screen, he is now in 4th position, only about 3/10 shy of Dwayne Davies at the top of the timesheets. So he has got pace, but he's been mixed up in a couple of incidents throughout the season. And when he has lacked pace, he's really fallen off the ball. And then we have Termo, who would be on a few more points, but got wiped out by Bolger at Phillip Island in, I believe, race 1 there. And that really has damaged his points charge at the moment. Flipping the page, Mike Coulston, 93 points. Now, he did miss a round. So had he have made a round, he probably would be up there in the mid-teens, and it would be a very tasty battle. But he's one to look out for as well. Currently sitting in 6th place in practice at the moment. Steve Burko, 73. He's be looking just to up that pace just a little bit, and hopefully nab some slightly better results. And in 13th place, Glenn Miles on 69 points, something he'll have a chuckle about, no doubt. Has, again, not the quickest driver out there, but he rarely DNFs, so that is why he's above the likes of Lime Mitch, Brian Walsh, and Brownie, as well as Nolan and Preston, who are on 68 and 64 points, who have only appeared in the first round, which is a bit disappointing. And then we have Zach Ross, 57 points, Lime Mitch, 54, who I think he only appeared in the first round as well, but he only drove the guest car. He hasn't registered for the series. Brian Walsh on 52 points, Brownie 47, he's missed a round or two as well, and Rody on 45. Alright, now the team standings. Currently sitting atop, with the drivers being Brenton Foley, the championship leader, and Brendan Ross, 441. I dare say that is probably insurmountable, especially now that FCR Motorsport, with the likes of Matt Williams and Gary Neville, is missing one of their drivers this evening. It's going to make it very, very difficult for them to close in the gap, and one of also the few teams that have consistently 2 cars showing up to each round. And then we have Cracker Racing Team with Brownie and obviously Cracker on 164 and D2 Racing only 5 points adrift. So not a bad effort for single car outfit. Only 5 points adrift of Cracker Racing Team. Outworld Racing Team, that is sole entry of Netherrealmian on 148. Playboy Racing on 121 with Brian Walsh and Glenn Miles there. And then on 117 points for MHRT, Matt Harvey, Repair and Tune Racing. That is Luke Joyner in the Holden Astra on 117. Gravel Rash Racing on 116. And then NPC Castrol Racing on 112 with Termo at the wheel. And as I said earlier, he'll be hoping to avoid Steve Bolger and put in a nice shift and a good couple of races and jump himself and the NPC Castrol Racing Team a little higher in the standings. And then in 10th place, the Dragon Racing Team with Zach Ross and Steve Burko on 102 points. Alright, now to take a look at the circuit that that the drivers, I should say, will be tackling this evening. Queensland Raceway in Ipswich, 3.12 kilometres. This is the national layout. And as you can see, bottom left-hand corner, the Automobilista Australia record around here in an official event was set by Ethan Warren in the Supercar Series in 2018. The 107.746. Another tidbit from that qualifying session, there was about 3 or 4 drivers within a tenth of that lap time. So very, very tight indeed. And just pointing out, a lot of right-handers, and they're all high speed as well. So high and medium speed. So turn 1 is fairly simple around here. But speaking from a little bit of experience from practice, turn 2 is going to be one to look out for. You don't want to get it wrong because there's a long run down to turn 3 and it's very easy to get wrong if drivers aren't straight back on the throttle after slowing down. So not only have they got to contend with that though, they've also got to contend with they don't want to run their tyres too hard and be on the power too hard through there, especially early in the race, and wear out that front left-hand tyre. Qualifying won't matter, but in the race, taking care of your tyres, especially that front left, will matter. And if you do get turn 2 wrong, it will compromise you obviously down to turn 3, and it also will wear out your front left. So drivers will have to conserve just a little bit. And then speaking of that long run, turn 3, the brakes in these things are going to absolutely cook. So drivers will probably need to run a little bit higher, or a little bit bigger brake ducts just to compensate, because their front brakes will overheat into that corner if they're not careful. Turn 4, another opportunity to overtake with a little bit of a run. Turn 3, coming out of turn 3 as well. That's a fairly simple corner around this circuit. And then turn 5 is also going to be vital to get right, because you can carry a bit of speed through there if you know how to take it right. You can use a little bit of curb on the inside, even though the curb is fairly high. But again, you don't want to get the exit wrong because turn 6, another passing opportunity. So that is something to look out for. Anyway, practice is over, and our 10-minute shootout style, well, not quite shootout style, but 1 lap dash for qualifying is about to get underway. And as you can see, Dwayne Davies, Turmo, and I believe that is Michael Ford. Or is that? No, that's Brownie, in fact. So Brownie has jumped in. Michael Ford was in the server for a short while, but he's not here at the moment, unfortunately. That's as you can see. Number of drivers out early, and Dwayne Davies wants to set a good marker early. Wants to set the benchmark, so he will be the first one to set a lap, and we'll see how he goes. So Davies, he'll be hoping to once again put together a solid qualifying effort. Obviously on pole at Mallala with a fantastic lap time. And in practice has set the 3rd fastest time. So in the end he was overlapped by both the FCR Team Scouse cars, with Brendan Ross actually topping practice with a 1:14.439, and then Foley less than half a tenth away in a 14.476. Now, Davies ran a little bit wide there at the entry point to the final corner. That won't actually hurt him too badly because it'll give him a better run down here into turn 1. So he might have an extra half a K or K or 2 as he heads into turn 1. Doesn't lose the back end, so a nice smooth run so far for Davies. And now the tricky turn 2. And he's navigated that okay. But we'll just see where that first split lies though. So 26.6. We'll have a look at live rate. If you do want to check out obviously the live timing of the drivers while you're watching the stream, check out amsoz.liveracers.com /live, and you'll have a list of servers, and you'll see the TCR Oz server up there on Queensland National. So Turmo actually has the fastest first sector, half a tenth faster, or less than half a tenth faster than Dwayne Davies. Dwayne Davies 50.590 at the second split, and now he's got just the final turn to contend with. Nice line through there, nice exit. He won't be unhappy with this lap. It's not going to be a terrible one. 14.5, so a decent benchmark for Dwayne Davies to start off with. But we have seen faster lap times in practice, albeit just. Now Turmo now out of the final corner. 14.9, he won't be too unhappy with that either. And I do believe, yes, that is a personal best for Turmo. His fastest in practice was a 15.2. 15.3 for Mike Coulston. He'll be actually a little unhappy with that. He's 2/10 off his personal best from practice. Line Mitch crosses line, 14.4 for him. So he's provisionally P4. And we've also had Brownie set a 16.0. Brian Walsh a 17.5. And now Glenn Miles a 19.2. Still 6.5 minutes to go in the session. And we've still got half the drivers to set a lap time. Doesn't look like any of the FCR boys are going to set a lap at the moment. And we've got Steve Burko now out to start a lap. There's only himself and Luke Joyner out on the circuit. And Burko will be the first one to set a lap time. So, with that, we'll jump on board Steve Burko to the right-hand side of his rear wheel as he tackles the final 2/3 of this Queensland Raceway circuit. Probably could have carried a little bit more speed and turned in a little bit later. He's ran a bit wide there, so hopefully he hasn't picked up a track gap, but he is continuing, so it doesn't look like he has. Now don't outbrake yourself now into turn 4. A little bit wide on the exit, but that's okay. Ooh, he's had to get off the throttle quite a bit there at turn 5. And now for the final corner. A little bit early on the brakes and the turn in, and that's going to compromise his exit a little bit. He's not going to be able to get on the power as early as what you'd want. Burko 16.0 was his personal best in practice, and he's half a second off that, so he'll be a little bit unhappy. It looks like we've got Steve Bolger exiting the pits now. That's what can Luke Joyner do? That's across the start-finish line. 15.6 for him, so provisionally P5, not bad. Well, currently 1.1 seconds off Dwayne Davies, 1 minute 14.542. Under 5 minutes to go in the session now. Got Netherelmian also out on the circuit at the moment. And it looks like one of the FCR cars, in fact, two of the FCR cars out on the circuit. That's Brendan Ross and Matt Williams. While the championship leader, Brenton Foley, looks like he's going to wait until the death for him to set a lap. So Steve Bolger will be the next driver to start a lap. So they'll stick with him. So he's got one corner to go to start his flying lap. And right on board, Steve Bolger in his Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCR for Gravel Rush Racing. Sets himself up for a nice little run out of the final corner, and now the run to turn 1. He goes down to 4th. Doesn't lose the back end. Nice and smooth through turn 1. Little half slide through turn 2, but it shouldn't have cost him too much time. Now the run to turn 3 and the first intermediate. So he's up by 2/10. So impressive first sector from Steve Bolger. Hasn't had a great run though through turn 3. That little slide will cost him a little bit of time. It would cost him a little bit of momentum, and momentum is important in these cars. Late on the brakes into turn 4. Also got nice first sector from Netherelmian as well. And there we go. That little slide at turn 3 costing Bolger a couple tenths there. That said, he can still put a nice lap together here. Got one corner to go. Conservative on the throttle, but still nice and smooth out of the final corner now. Now the run to the start-finish line. What will Bolger set? 1 minute 14.6, so provisionally P2. Hung with Dwayne Davies there, so impressive lap there for Steve Bolger. And Netherelmian 15.5, so he goes provisionally P4. And that is his personal best as well. Half a second faster than what he managed in practice, so he'll be happy with that one. And he sets himself up nicely. Now, to the big guns, Brendan Ross. Half a tenth up over Dwayne Davies in the middle split. Matt Williams didn't have an impressive first sector. He's well off, in fact, but his middle sector is quite good. Anyway, Ross to the start-finish line. P2. So, couldn't quite do it in the end. Davies, fantastic in the final sector. Matt Williams goes P6 on a 15.3. Williams losing 2 tenths in the final sector and a tenth in the middle, but his first sector half a second down, so he'll be a little annoyed with himself. Must have got a slide on in the first couple corners. Alright, so now there's only one driver that is yet to set a lap time, and that is this man, Brenton Foley, our championship leader, leaving it right to the death, giving us something to watch with still a minute and 15 left on the clock. He set a 1 minute 14.476 in practice. He'll be hoping to match that, and if he does, that'll send him to pole position. But the front three at the moment, Davies, Ross and Bolger, separated by 0.084, so less than a tenth of a second separating the top three. And looking at the lap times in practice, there's a fair chance that it could be the top four covered by less than a tenth of a second. now ride on board our championship leader. And back to back to back TCC champion. Bit of a slide in turn 1 that will cost him a little bit of time and momentum coming into turn 2. But turn 2 is the big one. You don't want a big slide here. You want to carry speed through it, have a nice exit, which Foley has done. So he's minimised the time lost at turn 1. He's still just up on Dwayne Davies in the first split, but Davies didn't have the greatest first sector, and Brendan Ross, in fact, was I think a tenth or two faster in the first sector, if my memory serves me correctly. But what can Foley do now? Oh, bit of a slide there at turn 4. That will cost him a little bit of time, but he's still up almost 2 tenths. But this is Davies' best sector. One corner to go for Foley. Down to second gear. On the power nice and early. And now the drive to the start-finish line. Kicks up a little bit of dust on the exit, but that won't cost him time. And Foley, pole position by half a tenth. Half a tenth separates Brenton Foley and Dwayne Davies. So they will share the front row once again. Brendan Ross will start third with Bolger behind him. The top 4 covered by a tenth and a half. Termo 0.4 back, followed by Netherrealmian half a second back. And then Matt Williams in 7th, 8 tenths back. Coulston 8 tenths back in. He'll start 8th. Mitch 9th, 9 tenths back. Joyner 1.1 seconds off, but he'll start in 10th place, followed by Brownie, Burko, and Walsh. So, cracking qualifying session. We'll take a short break as we conduct the driver's briefing, but we shall be back with race 1 in 10 minutes' time. Alrighty, and welcome back to round 4 of the Automobilista Australia TCR Oz series from Queensland Raceway. I do apologise for the breaks during the warm-up session. I know I'll lose a couple of viewers when that happens, but as there's no other admins running the series, I do have to do the driver's briefing. So I do have to step away from the stream while I do that. But we're back. Got 5 minutes left of the warm-up session before race 1. And now is as good a time as any to go over the championship standings once again. And as you can see, Brenton Foley topping the list by a hefty margin. And he continues his dominance in these Monday night touring car series. And then we have Matt Williams in P2 doing a solid and consistent job so far this season. Hasn't had the greatest run in qualifying this time out, but with his very, very quick starts, I'm sure he'll pick up a couple spots from the start, and give himself a nice launching pad for the remainder of the race. Brendan Ross, he's had a very, I guess from his standards, a pretty disappointing season, but still finds himself in third place in the standings. Had a bit of a mare at Mallala last round, but will be starting race 1 from third position on the grid. So he's getting himself a decent platform, but something for those watching at home to look out for is obviously his consistency, which has sometimes abandoned him. And I think his tyres as well around here. He does like to slide the car around and use a bit on those tyres. He might have to take it a bit easy around here if he wants to pick up a decent result, because Matt Williams has been a little bit better on his tyres out there and a bit more smarter, and I think that's something that we will see once again this evening. So that's why he finds himself in third place, does Brendan Ross. Dwayne Davies, he's had some blisteringly fast lap times and some fantastic races at the front with Brenton Foley, but his consistency and his unfortunate involvement in a couple incidents has dropped him sort of out of the championship the chance of the championship, really, barring Brenton Foley missing a round. But he'll still be hoping to nab some race wins, and he'll be hoping to get himself back up into P2 in the championship standings. Then we have Nether, P5, 148. Not the quickest, but he doesn't set many foot wrong, and doesn't get caught up in incidents either. So that's why he's there in P5. Nice and consistent 148 points for the Ford Focus driver. Gary Neville, who can't be here this evening, so get well, Gary, with that shoulder. He's on 137. Picked up a podium last time out, so he'll be kicking himself that can't make it this evening and continue his hot form. Cracker in P7. Joyner P8. And then Steve Bolger, who gives himself a fantastic chance to jump up in front of both Cracker and Joyner, and perhaps even Gary Neville if he has a fantastic round as well. In fact, I dare say he probably should finish in front of Gary Neville should he finish both races this evening. Then we have Turmo as well in 10th place. I think we'll see him jump up a spot or two as well by the time tonight is out. And we'll skip the second half of the standings for the drivers, but there's the team standings. And as you can see, comprehensive lead for FCR and even FCR Team Scouse and FCR Motorsport over the rest. Cracker Racing Team, one of the few other teams with 2 cars in it. In fact, there's only 4 cars in that list which has a 2-driver lineup, and that is the Cracker Racing Team and Dragon Racing Team. Unfortunately, Zach won't be here for the first race, and probably won't be here for the second either. Unfortunately, out due to daylight savings daylight savings kicking over on the weekend for Melbourne, or not for Melbourne, but for Victoria and for New South Wales. Anyway, we're just about to tick over to the race session as the warm-up has finished. We had a number of drivers out there practicing their starts, and we still do as time has expired, but it will tick over, and we are about to go racing in about 2 minutes, well, 2.5 minutes time, as there will be a formation lap, obviously. And there it is, we have ticked over. And now all we need to do is just wait. So now all we do is wait for the drivers to form up and begin the formation lap. Unlike the TCC series, which was ran previous to the TCR Oz series, it is a standing start, just like the real life TCR series. The TC series did have a rolling start, which saw the drivers run behind the safety car for the formation lap, and then once the driver would cross the start-finish line, the lead driver cross the start-finish line racing would commence. But now it's just the old-fashioned wait for the lights to go out, and away we go. And a number of drivers there flashing their lights, and I'm sure there's a couple out there with their lights on that are watching the stream, and I have a couple choice words for them, and that is get stuffed. So you guys can get stuffed that are watching the stream and trying to race at the same time and flashing their lights. Anyway, formation lap is underway. And as you can see, once again, Brenton Foley leading the field away from pole position. But behind him, though, joining him on the front row, Dwayne Davies was only half a tenth away. And then only about a tenth away was Brendan Ross, who will be starting from third position. And he'll be hoping for a clean getaway and a nice, smooth race for him, because he's had a rough last couple rounds. In fourth place, Steve Bolger, one of his better efforts for the year. I do believe it is his best qualifying effort of the year. No, maybe. But certainly better than what he did last round, that's for sure. Anyway, Steve Bolger starting on the second row in fourth, followed by Turmo in P5. He'll be hoping to put together a mistake-free run and pick up a nice, solid result. And hopefully no one will rear-end him this time, unlike at Phillip Island by the guy in front of him on the road. Nether, he'll be hoping for another clean run. And hope the guys in front of him, once again, just fall off the road a little bit and he keeps his consistency where it has been all season. And he's able to pick up a couple spots and a nice result. But he's got a fast-starting Matt Williams starting alongside him in P7. So he's one to watch out for off the start line here. And the second of the Alfa Romeos, Mike Coulston, will start 8th. Lion Mitch has missed the start and will start from the pit lane, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he remembers to not leave the pits before the light goes green at the end of the pit lane. Luke Joyner will start in 10th place. Brownie will start for 11th. No cracker this evening, which is a shame, but hopefully he makes his second race. We have Steve Burko 12th, Brian Walsh 13th, and Glenn Miles rounding out the field. Alright, one light, two light, and a green light, away we go. And a fairly even start at the front. Looks like Ross got a good one, but has nowhere to go. Foley holds on for now. Davies going to try and go around the outside. And coming into two, no contact just yet. And Davies still trying to hold on around the outside at turn two. He's on the marbles, he's ran wide, and he's on the grass. So that will drop him down a number of spots. That's Bolger up into third. That's Ross into second. Ross has got a bit of a slipstream, having a look up the inside of his teammate into turn three, but backs out of it. We got Matt Williams having a look up the inside of Dwayne Davies, and he's right behind Netherrealmian. And Davies lost out as well again. This time to Netherrealmian, who's now up one spot, but he's got Matt Williams to contend with. Turmo's had a good start as well, up one spot as well. Never having a look at the back of the Audi RS3, but not quite close enough. Now Coulston side by side with Matt Williams. And he gets the job done at turn 5, so aggressive driving. Williams just getting out of it, doesn't want contact early on, but he's going to try and make a move stick at the final corner. Not quite close enough though. Coulston had a solid start. He's up 2 spots. But he's got a couple faster cars behind him, one would have to say. Looks like Burko's lost his front splitter, but it shouldn't affect him too much. But at the front, though, Foley in the lead. And we've got Ross, Bolger, Turmo, Nether, Coulston, Williams, Davies, Joyner, Brownie, Burko, Walsh, and Miles. So it doesn't look like Lime Mitch has made the start and he's in the race. But Foley, who's ran wide at the exit of turn 2, he's kept his foot on the throttle. He might pick up a track cut for that, but it will give Ross a bit of a sniff. And it looks like we've got Williams making a run in the background. The top 5 fairly close together, and Williams will make the move stick on Coulston, and a little bit of contact between Davies and Joyner, with Brownie very, very close together. Oh, and got Bolger and Ross. No, sorry, Bolger and Foley side by side. So something's happened to Foley there. Perhaps there was a change of position when he ran wide. But Ross now into the lead, Bolger into P2, and Foley down into P3. So we'll have a look at that on the replay. So yes, he did, in fact, run wide there. Did Brenton Foley. We'll have a look at that again. So Foley just outbrake himself and then on the marbles, and that allowed Bolger through up into P2. So crucially for Ross, though, Foley has to get past Bolger, and with those two battling, it will enable Ross to get away, and the slipstream will be important around here. If you have a car behind you, you will tow him around. As Foley, a little bit of a slide at turn 2. Doesn't affect him too much, and he should get a run and probably get past Bolger into turn 3 now. And there it is. Up the inside goes Foley, and Bolger now under threat. Turbo behind, and now we've got Williams and Netherelmian side by side. Davies not too far away as well, and Davies has got past Mike Coulston as well. And Williams up the inside for Netherelmian. Car in front of him's locked up just a little bit. They're going to go side by side through turn 5 as well, and Williams doesn't get it, so Netherelmian holds on around the outside and parks his car in the middle of the road, leading up to the final corner. And in fact, Williams has to go defensive with Davies having a look, and Coulston also having a look up the inside of Davies. So some fantastic racing in the mid-pack here, and Coulston and Davies will go side by side. Fastest lap of the race for Foley, who has got past Bolger. Right, he's got 1.5 seconds to close down, and Coulston just getting out of it there, and allows Davies to hold on to P7. Davies a little bit wide there at turn 1, and Coulston now up the inside, and Davies has to go the long way around the outside at turn 2, and he will get it done. Looks like Coulston may have backed out of that a little bit, and now it's going to be a drag down into turn 3, and once again, looks like Coulston backing out of it, and Davies back in P7. The Williams-Netherelmian battle continues, as does now the Bolger and Turmo battle for the final step on the podium. Now, we did see at Malala, Nether was fantastic at holding on and absorbing pressure from faster cars behind. And once again, some very solid driving early on here to hold on to P5. One feels it's a matter of time, and they might even go 3 wide. No, Davies backs out of it, and Williams going to try and go around the outside at the final turn. He's never going to do it there. That said, he is going to try. Nether gives him a lot of room, and Ross, fastest lap of the race, which is immediately beaten by Brenton Foley. Williams now trying to get the up and under and make a move up the inside into turn 1. Now the Relmian gives him the space, but he has the momentum, and Williams will fall in line. And now these 4 cars very, very close together. Williams should get the job done. I think he's close enough to make a move up the inside. Doesn't look like it's being defended, and looks like Brownie and Turmo also battling it out. Now Williams very, very late on the brakes. Will he pull it up? He's outbraked himself a little bit, got a bit of a slide on. He's on the marbles and on the grass, and in fact that's going to allow Davies past. And for now the Relmian gets a little bit of a breather, but Davies isn't far away. But Williams now has to contend with Coulston, who has a look, decides against it. Oh, and a bit of a nudge. Williams outbrakes himself into the back of Davies, and Davies going slowly, but he has recovered, hasn't caused too much damage to Luke Joyner's car. And now Brownie, I should say, trying to get past Luke Joyner, who must have So Joyner must have got past Brownie early on in the lap, but Brownie now sending it up the inside at the final turn after being balked. Well, sorry, Joyner getting balked, and Foley fast lap 14.3, so that's significantly, at least around this place, faster than the pole lap by a couple tenths. And after all that, Williams now down into 10th place after that mistake, outbraking himself. Davies dropping down to 7th, and Nether has absorbed all that pressure. And now he's got a little bit of breathing room, so Mike Coulson in behind. And then, not only that, I think Coulson will come under threat from Davies, and that will buy Nether a real million time. So I reckon Nether might be safe for a little while at least, if he doesn't make a mistake, which he hasn't in the last round after absorbing a heap of pressure, and I don't think he will again this evening. So now we'll jump ahead to the battle for third place between Steve Bolger and Turmo. And also up the front, the two FCR cars aren't far apart either, as you can see on your screen. So there's first, second, third, fourth. And we've got Nether, not too far away either. And not too much feels from it. Actually, there is a rare mistake from Nether. I just talked him up. Absolute commentator's curse. And at the final corner, outbrakes himself. And that allows Coulston and Davies past. So he'll be kicking himself with that mistake. He's able to absorb all the pressure, not put a foot wrong when having cars all over the back of him, up the inside of him, and even ahead of him for certain corners. That mistake, unforced error, and drops him down 2 spots. That said, he's not giving it up. He is in the slipstream. Fellow Ford focus of Dwayne Davies in front. That isn't quite close enough. Davies, in fact, having a look up the inside of Coulson, who either leaves a bit of room or just outbrakes himself a little bit. And now these three will compress just a little bit. Coming into turn 4. Oh, and Coulston outbrakes himself a little bit wide now. Davies wants a piece of that action. They're going to go side by side through 5. Both drivers giving each other room. That's compromised Davies a little bit. Now Nether will make the move back up to P6 and ahead of Dwayne Davies, at least for now. With this battling going on, it is allowing Luke Joyner and Brownie to close in, and Matt Williams as well. As you can see on the screen, 14.2. You do have a driver in the pit lane there. In fact, that's Line Mitch has emerged from the pit lane, as we see Davies trying to make the moves into turn 1 on Nether, not quite close enough. And now it's Coulson with a little bit of breathing room at the front. Ross continues to lead, but only just. And in fact, looks like we've got a change of position between... Actually, no, it looks like it's just a timing bug, because we've got Foley dropping through the field, but you can see on your screen he is right behind Brendan Ross. This did happen a round or 2 ago as well. But once he crosses the second split line, it should... Yep, there we go, back up into P2, 3 tenths behind. And we have had Turmo get past Bolger. And there is a little bit of damage on the front of Turmo's car, which wasn't there before, so we'll cut it back. Now, where did this take place? So we go all the way back. No, that's fair. Just not fair. Would have happened at least a lap and a half ago. And now Foley, big slide, big lock up into turn 1, is ran wide, and that's going to give Ross a lap or 2 just to compose himself, or maybe a corner to compose himself. But Ross runs a little bit wide. And in fact, Foley with the decent run. And he will try and make the move. Has a look, but straight back in the wheel tracks. His teammate in front. Big lock up, big slide from Ross. Foley, though, nowhere really to go. And Ross will hold on. Ross with a decent exit, actually, out of turn 3. So fantastically tight racing between these guys, and I can see also in the live timing as well, Coulson, Netherelmi and Davies not covered by much as well. And in fact, Joyner is right there as well. Yep, there it is. Battle for 5th place continues. Went down to the wire at Malala. Looks like it's going to once again here. He'll stick with this battle for the lead at the moment. And Foley has a look up the inside of Brendan Ross. Doesn't make it stick. I think it was just to try and distract Ross in front. Ross did have a little bit of a lock-up, and he has had a bit of a slide at turn 2, but Foley runs wide just a little bit as well at turn 2. So both those mistakes sort of neutralised each other. And Foley not going to be close enough to make a move stick into turn 3. And behind them, Turmo holds on with Bolger right behind. But Mike Coulston, he's got Nether having a look up the inside. Also got Matt Williams having a look at Brownie further back down the field as well. And yeah, there we go. Matt Williams gets the job done. And also had our first DNF. So Lime Mitch unfortunately out. Did start a couple of laps behind after missing the start. But hopefully has a crack in race 2. But it hasn't been a great lap for Coulston. And Netherelmian is as close as ever, and Davies also there. Netherelmian up the inside at the final corner. Coulston gives him space, and Coulston might even give Davies a shot as well. He might lose 2 spots in one corner. That said, I think Coulston got a decent run off. It's going to be a drag down into turn 1. Slight overlap. Davies a little bit later on the break, so they are side by side through turn 1. A little bit of contact, but Coulston holds on. And again, Davies tries to make the move stick, a little bit of a lock-up, has to get out of it. Coulston gives him space. And once again, they're going to be side by side into turn 3. So Nether back into P5, and with these guys going at it, should buy himself a little bit of time. And Davies late on the brakes into turn 3, up the inside. And this time gets the job done. And Luke Joyner there on the marbles, I should say, in the background, and that's dropped him back a number of car lengths, and he's going to be falling into the clutches of Matt Williams now. Coulston now having a look up the inside of Davies, late on the brakes, almost collects the back of the Ford Focus with that lock-up, but thankfully avoids contact, and no damage for neither driver, but it will drop him back a couple car lengths. And a decent middle sector for Dwayne Davies. And he's now right there with Netherelmian. At the front though, Foley and Ross continue to duke it out. Another bit of a slide there for Ross at turn 2. But both drivers have sort of neutralised each other with the way they've been going at it. But this time Foley wants to make a move, does make the move, and will get the job done as Ross runs wide onto the marbles. So championship leader Brenton Foley back to where he started at the front of the field, and Brendan Ross down into P2. And they have 4 seconds over Turmo as Foley a little bit wide there, exit of turn 4. And now it'll be interesting to see how obviously Foley goes for the remaining 10 minutes, and to see how Ross goes as well, to see if he drops off or if he remains close to his teammate for the final 10 minutes. Turmo and Bolger continue to duke it out, but it doesn't look like Bolger is quite close enough or have a significant enough pace advantage to get that pace back. And we have Dwayne Davies has got past Netherelmian, so we did miss that. That has happened, as you can see, but too far back on the replay. But Davies a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1, but Netherelmian not quite close enough now to make him pay. So Davies now back up into P5. He did start on the front row, but ran wide the exit of turn 2 on the opening lap, and that has absolutely ruined his race. But now in clear air, he'll be hoping for a mistake or two for the Turmo and Bolger crew. And at best, I think 3rd place is the best he can finish, but that is in a best case scenario. So he'll probably finish a lonely 5th. But Netherelmian though, he's got Mike Coulston and Luke Joyner for company. And Matt Williams has been up and down this race, a bit like a yo-yo. Right, so he's also got a little bit of pace as well, so we might see him join the fray as well. He's not too far away. About 3 seconds or so off Netherrealm, and there's still 8.5 minutes plus an extra lap remaining. We'll stick with this nice little battle for P6. And around 15.7, 15.6 for Coulston, 15.3 for Joyner, 16.0 for Williams, who we did see make a slight mistake. But Coulston very aggressive there at turn 1 on the curb. Not ideal, but it didn't cost him too much time, and he's ran a bit wide there. Had to get off the throttle at turn 2. That's compromised his exit and his speed down the straight, and it's allowed Joyner to close right up. Joyner's not going to be close enough to make a realistic move into turn 3, but turn 4, if he gets a good exit, he might be a slight chance. No, not quite close enough this time, but he's right there. Should Coulston make another little mistake as well. At the front, though, we've had Ross retake the lead, and we've got Bolger also get past Turmo, and they're going to go side by side into the final corner. We'll try and cut to a replay of both of those at some point. That's Bolger into P3 now. So we'll cut to a little bit of a replay. So what has happened here? Into turn 4, Turmo locked up and wide, and also the two FCR cars aren't too far away either. So what has happened here? We'll go back and have a look. Coming into turn 3, and Ross up the inside into the lead, and now we're back live. Looks like Turmo's going to try and make a move stick, and Foley's going to try and get back to the lead, but backs out of it. Behind them, though, Turmo also backs out of it, but 1 minute 16.0 and a 16.3 for the two FCR cars at the front, and they lost a bit of time to Bolger and Turmo, who are only 3 seconds away. So Bolger and Turmo, despite their little battling as well, they're not too far away. I did think the gap was a little bit higher than that, but they're doing a nice little job even though they are battling. And Turmo using all the road and a bit of grass. Fantastic exit out of turn 5. Has a look up the inside of the final corner at 6. Not quite close enough though. And wants to get a good run out of the final corner. And in fact, speaking of a good run out of the final corner, Brenton Foley is right there. But turn 1 is just too fast. Unless you're side by side, wheel to wheel, you're never really going to realistically make a move stick without sending the car in front off into the boonies and into the barrier. So Foley now going to try and set it up into turn 3. He's had a decent exit. Ross goes defensive, forces Foley to the outside, and going to try and make him go the long way. Turmo and Bolger also side by side in the background. And Foley tries to go around the outside, but Ross just squeezes him wide and will hold on. And Foley wide. Behind them, Bolger and Turmo side by side. Turmo around the outside, holds on for now. And so Turmo back up into P3. Seesawing battle between the first 4 cars in individual battles, with Ross now reclaiming the lead and Turmo reclaiming P3. Foley having a look up the inside of the final corner, trying to distract Ross. No mistake this time from Brendan Ross, and he holds on. And should these front two obviously come to blows, hopefully it doesn't happen, but Turmo and Bolger aren't too far away. All setting mid-15 lap time, so impressive stuff from Turmo and Bolger. Remaining only 3 seconds off our championship leader and his teammate. And once again, Foley showing his nose, moving all over the place, trying to distract Ross. He's going to try and make a late move up the inside. But Ross as late as you can be on the brakes at turn 3. He's going to be a little bit compromised, a little bit wide through turn 3, but he will have the inside for turn 4. It's going to force Foley to go around the long way at turn 4, which I don't think is going to be particularly easy. The next corner is also a left-hander, and Ross holds on. Foley going to try and get him on the switchback, but he hasn't had a good enough exit to make that work. So now Foley's best bet once again into turn 3. Behind them, Turmo's actually just broken away a little bit on this lap from Bolger. Oh, and very late on the brakes, Foley, and he had to get... Oh, he almost ran into the back of his teammate. Bit of a lockup once again, very late on the brakes. There's another mistake. It will give... And wide as well, and on the grass, but he hasn't lost any time, though. Immediately to the inside goes Brendan Ross. So somehow that didn't cost Foley too much time running on the grass there. But, Ross holds on. Perhaps Ross had to get off the throttle in the mid-corner there, while Foley just kept his foot in it, and that's why he remained in touch. Turmo's actually gained on these guys, only 2.5 seconds away from Brett and Foley, with just under 3 minutes plus an extra lap remaining. So if these guys continue to duke it out as hard as they are at the moment, we could see Turmo join the fray as well. And Bolger isn't too far behind Turmo either. Foley very, very close this time. Has a look up the inside of the final corner. I think he's just setting Brendan Ross up at the moment. Should worse come to worse, Foley will have to make that move into the final corner. I think he's just biding his time at the moment. But time is running out though. And just for an update on the battle for P6, sorry, Nether still ahead of Mike Coulston, Luke Joyner and Matt Williams. Oh, and a bit of contact. Foley much better through turn 2. Keeps his foot in. He does lose his front splitter. The rear bumper from his teammate's Volvo is also off the road. It shouldn't affect these guys too much. It's just how the damage is set to these cars. It shouldn't affect their performance too much, even though it does look like their front end is completely wrecked. It's a fantastic battle between these two, and between Turbo and Bolger behind, and of course between Davies, Nether Albion, Coulston, Joyner and Williams as well. But this race will go down to the wire. But at the moment, Ross absorbing all the pressure and doing a fantastic job at holding on to that lead. But I think Foley, it just seems like it's a matter of time. It just seems like he's holding just that little bit back, but at the same time he has made a couple little uncharacteristic mistakes, particularly at turn 2 where he's run a little bit wide, where if he had been just a little bit better and got off the throttle maybe just a little bit, it would have given me a little bit of a better run. But he's still right there, and with under a minute remaining plus that extra lap, he's still there with a chance to win this one. Once again, a little bit wide, but he has got a slightly better run. Ross will go defensive, force his teammate to the outside. So right to the inside goes Brendan Ross, and right to the outside goes Brendan Foley. Foley much later on the brakes, going to try and go the long way. A little bit of a lock-up for Ross, forces Foley to run a little bit wide. Foley now trying to get him on the switchback. He does have the better run, and Foley now into the lead. And now it's Ross has to send it up the inside if he wants that lead back. Decides against it, but they will go side by side because I think Foley just outbroke himself a little bit. Ross still up the inside of Foley, and Ross back into the lead. Foley though will have the inside for the final corner. Time will expire. The next lap will be the final one. There will be 21 laps here, and into the final corner Ross going to try and go around the outside, Foley on the inside, and I think Ross might have that. No, he doesn't have that done, so Foley just Ross just holds on. He's just got the edge over Foley. It would have been a photo finish had it finished on this lap. But as it stands, this is the final lap, and Brendan Ross just leads. His teammate is, well, he was alongside him, but Ross now in the clear lead. But his teammate right there as well. Turmo and Bolger also duking out very, very close between those two. Foley, a fantastic run. He gets his nose chopped off from Brendan Ross, who moves straight to the inside, hugs that inside line. Foley has to go around the outside. Bolger trying to make a move on Turmo in the background as well. And once again, Foley going to have to try and get that switch back on. Bolger now did make that move stick, so Bolger into P3. Ross holding on for dear life at the moment. And Turmo not quite close enough to make a move on Bolger, but Ross defensive at 4. Foley on the grass on the exit. And Ross defensive. Ross has to go defensive. Foley now has to try and go around the outside at the final corner. It looks like he's got a slightly better run, but Ross does cover him off. It will be a photo finish, and who will take it? It will be Brendan Ross just. And Foley second. Bolger in a photo finish will finish in front of Turmo. So fantastic racing between the top four. Davies will be a distant P5 after his mistake early on. And Coulston has nabbed P6 from Netherrealmian as well. So it's Coulston 6th, Netherrealmian 7th, Matt Williams 8th, Luke Joyner in 9th, and Burko 10th. Whew. Oh, he will be 10th. He's got one more corner to navigate. Ooh. I do apologise there. My voice was just breaking there at the end. But Burko will cross the line in his Honda in 10th place, followed by Glenn Miles in 11th. And we will have also Brian Walsh on the lead lap, and he will finish in 12th with our 2 DNFs with Brownie, who we did not pick up. So unfortunately for Brownie, he DNF'd, and Lime Mitch also out as well. So some absolutely fantastic racing between the two men on screen. Hard but fair racing for the lead. And the reverse doughies from both are certainly warranted. You couldn't fault either driver for taking the victory. Both battled hard, but Brendan Ross didn't make any mistakes this time after uncharacteristically Foley did, and Ross took his chance and held on for dear life. So well done, Brendan Ross. Also well done, Brenton Foley, for some fantastic racing. And then as well, Steve Bolger right at the end, nipping P3 from Turmo. They also had a fantastic battle throughout the race, but Bolger just taking it. And they weren't too far off the leaders as well, only 2.5 seconds or so as well from the front two. And it will be interesting next time out with obviously Dwayne Davies in the mix as well, because Davies was quite pacey, but that error on that first lap really did set him back. So after an action-packed first race, we'll take a short, probably 10-minute break while I catch my breath. But we shall be back for the reverse grid in about 10 minutes' time. All right, and welcome back. So we're currently got 4 and a bit minutes remaining in the warm-up session, and I certainly did need that little break to set the reverse grid. So just a reminder for those at home that may not have seen the series before, there's 2 races per evening or per round. The first race being set by a 1 lap dash in qualifying. You only get 1 timed lap. If you bin it on your out lap or on your time lap, that's it. But if you do set a lap time, that is what will get you onto the grid for turn 1. For race 1. And then the second race is, the first, obviously, the race is 25 minutes plus an additional lap. So once the timer expires and the drivers or the leaders cross the start-finish line, the next lap will be the final lap. And then in the second race, it is reverse grid. So it's not just any reverse grid; it's the entire field. It's entire field, not just say a top 8 like there is in what used to be GP2 and some other series. So it's the entire field, but on the caveat that a driver finishes or was there for the first race. So you've got to finish to be eligible. And so in tonight's case, that means that Brownie and Lime Mitch will start from the back of the field, even though they were down the bottom of the order due to their DNFs. And also we do have a newcomer, well, for this round anyway, but a series regular in Rhodey, who didn't make the first race, but is here for the second. Because he wasn't here, he'll start at the back as well. All right. Whew. So hopefully we get another fantastic race this time out. My local callers probably won't like that all that much, but I'm sure you guys watching it at home on your computer or on your phone, or those watching after the fact, will certainly want another one like that. But just to recap it, we had Brendan Ross holding off championship leader Bretton Foley. So Ross is only the 3rd different winner of the season, after Matt Williams was the 2nd driver to claim a victory after Bretton Foley. Foley, who has claimed every other race win. So fantastic effort from Matt Williams at Malala. And then again, he held off Bretton Foley in that one. And obviously tonight in race 1. Fantastic effort from Brendan Ross to hold off Bretton Foley in the end. And that would certainly be, I think, Brendan Ross's probably most complete race. He didn't put a foot wrong. Defended well when he needed to. And made the move stick. And was aggressive but fair when he needed to be to reclaim the lead. And he took a well-deserved first victory of the season. And he'll be hoping for a couple more like that to give himself an outside chance of giving Foley a bit of a headache in the championship. But it wasn't just a battle for the lead. We also had a battle between Termo and Steve Bolger, which also went right down to the start-finish line. So we had 2 dead heats between first and second, and then another dead heat between third and fourth, where Termo, he was in third for a large portion of that first race, but Bolger did jump up into third with a few laps to go, with a couple minutes remaining, but Termo got the position back. But due to a slight mistake, or Bolger just putting together a couple good corners, they're able to get by at turn 3, and then sort of fought his way to the finish line and held on for P3 in the end. Dwayne Davies, he started on the front row, but unfortunately for him, he made a mistake at turn 2 on the opening lap. So his opening lap woes continuing from Malala. This time it was self-induced, just running wide onto the grass at turn 2. That dropped him down it dropped him down, I do believe, down into 7th and 8th place, or 7th or 8th place at one point. But and he had to fight the hard way to get past the Netherrealmian Matt Williams, and there was I do believe Luke Joyner also in that battle pack for a portion of it as well. So he had to battle his way past them, and once he did, he was well behind the, obviously, 4th place at the time, Steve Bolger. So he finished a bit of a distant P5, so he'll be hoping in this reverse grid race to finish, for starters, because he didn't last time at Malala. But this time he'll be hoping to get away, nice clean start, and to pick up a decent result, and one which matches the pace that he has shown in the last 2 rounds. Anyway, as you heard in the background, that was the sirens, which means it has ticked over to the race session. So we have 25 minutes plus that additional lap remaining. In the first race, it was 21 laps, and as they were about halfway through the lap when it ticked over, actually it was more like 3/4, I would hazard a guess it will be 21 laps again, even though obviously the faster guys will be at the back end of the field at the start of the race. Alrighty. So now we wait. Still a number of drivers in the pit lane. That is all of them now, I believe. We'll just go through and have a look. Yep, that's all 15 cars on the grid. And the formation lap is meant to be getting underway, and both the Playboy Racing cars not wanting to get us away. But eventually, away we go. So, finish the last of the finishes means he starts in pole position for race 1. That means Brian Walsh will lead us away for race 2 with teammate Glenn Miles alongside. Steve Burko will start in 3rd place, followed by Luke Joyner. And then we have Matt Williams starting in P5. So he's actually, it's going to be interesting to watch how he goes in this one. He's got Netherrealmian alongside. We do know Matt Williams is a fantastic starter, so we could see him getting up the pointy end of the field pretty quickly. Then we have Mike Coulston starting in P7 for Flat Spot Racing. He has Dwayne Davies for company, who starts in 8th. Then we have Termo in 9th place, the Audi RS3. And he has his long-time rival, it seems, Steve Bolger, alongside him. So they'll continue to duke it out in this one. Then in 11th place, our championship leader, and has to be said, race 1 choker, Brenton Foley. You'll certainly have a chuckle after hearing that. Brendan Ross, our race 1 winner, will start from 12th place. And he'll be hoping for a decent start and to get through the field much better than he did last time out at Malala in the reverse grid race. In 13th place, we have Brownie. Lime Mitch in 14th, both of them DNFing, with Brownie cutting a few more laps than Lime Mitch, so that's why his Lime Mitch is 14th instead of 13th. And then Rhodey, who didn't race in race 1, but is here, thankfully, for race 2. We'll start 15th for Roo Motorsport in the Volkswagen GTI. And as you can see, we've already got a couple of cars angling across. Brenton Foley, very aggressive there. Right, 1 light, 2 light, and away we go. And Brian Walsh has gone absolutely nowhere. Looks like Steve Bolger got a decent start in the back there, and Joyner got the best start of the lot. He's having a look up the inside, and he is up the inside and into the lead at turn 1. And we just have a look from the chopper and see how we go. Big accident between, I think that's the Alfa Romeo of Mike Coulston, and I think he was collected by Rhodey. So hopefully not too much damage done. Foley looking to make a move immediately on Dwayne Davies and gets the job done. We've got Brownie off in the back there. Walsh already down to 6th. Burko 5th. Matt Williams up 1 spot into P4, so he hasn't had a great start. He is now behind Glenn Miles and having a look. And Burko very late on the brakes in the background, as is Brian Walsh, and he has sent Burko off. I think Boco would have gone off anyway, but he certainly gave him a helping hand. And now Williams, big slide as he's alongside Glenn Miles. So he's trying to get up into P3 and get away from Brenton Foley. Netherrealm is also getting away from Matt Williams, but it is Luke Joyner in the lead for now. So there it is. Joyner, Netherrealm, Miles, Williams, Mitch, Foley, Coulston, Turmo, Davies, Bolger, Brownie, Ross, Burko, Rody, and Walsh. So handy lead for Joyner. Netherrealm, a little bit of a handy lead over Williams. Williams now has got past Glenn Miles and Dwayne Davies a bit wide there. And it looks like Brandon Ross going to get past Brownie there. And now we've got Brenton Foley having a look up the inside and making a move on Lime Mitch's BMW. And he gets the job done. He's up to P5. And immediately right behind Glenn Miles. So he's put himself in great position early. But Lime Mitch, though, isn't giving up on that position. Having a look as Foley has a look. And it sounds like we've got a car a little bit wide there at turn 3. No yellows, though. And Foley up into P4. Miles not giving it up, though, trying to hold on around the outside. And see Coulston a little bit wide there. That's going to allow Turmo to get by. Well, maybe not get by, but they're going to be side by side. Miles trying to go up, or hold on up the inside of Foley. Continues to race, a little bit of contact between the two. And again, they're going to go side by side down the pit straight as Coulston and Turmo. Foley got the better run out of the final corner, though. And Foley up into P4. Miles now trying to hold off Lime Mitch, who's all over the back of the Playboy Ford Focus. And at the front, though, Netherrealm has closed down Luke Joyner and is looking to make the move. Having a look up the inside. But doesn't get the move done. A little bit further back, though, we've got Turmo making a move on Lime Mitch and up the inside. And Mike Coulston also trying to get a move done. And Netherrealm did actually make that move stick. And maybe Joyner outbroke himself because now Matt Williams up the inside at turn 4. They give each other space, but Williams will have the inside, I should say, for turn 5. Have seen a number of drivers hold on around the outside of turn 5. And Joyner is trying to do that. Has got a slight overlap, but Williams late on the brakes at the final corner. Joyner a little bit later, and he's going to run wide on the exit, and Williams just gets him on the switchback. So good hard racing between the two. But we'll try and actually go back and see what has happened, or what happened in the battle for the lead. So we'll go back and have a look. So this is into turn 3, and Joyner, just outbroke himself. Bit of a lock up, wide on the grass. And through into the lead goes Nether, and then obviously that little battle between Joyner and Williams, and Williams has got behind. He's fallen behind Joyner when we're looking at that replay, so now he's got to make that move stick once again, up the inside into turn 3. Doesn't quite get it done, and he's got now Brenton Foley joining them for company. Turmo's battling with Lime Mitch in the background, a little bit of contact between the two as they head into turn 4. Turmo late on the brakes, very late on the brakes. Will he pull it up? Just, but Lime Mitch is going to get him back on the switchback. But Turmo now going to try and get Mitch back on the switchback coming out of turn 5, and it's going to be a drag down into the final corner at turn 6. And again, Turmo late on the brakes. Mitch even later on the brakes, gets a bit crossed up. Turmo going to try and get him again on the switchback. Has got a slightly better run. He will have the inside for turn 1. And now we've got Foley has got past Williams up the inside of Joyner at turn 1. Joyner he did give him space, but he held on around the outside, and that's balked Foley a little bit at turn 2. And that again bringing Matt Williams into play. But Foley better on the exit of turn 2, side by side, and he should get that job done. Behind them, though, Turmo and Lime Mitch side by side, and Coulston also having a look as well. So Turmo up the inside of Lime Mitch, And looks like Foley's outbroke himself just a little bit at turn 3, but he will have the inside for turn 4. But Joyner, for now, has got his nose in front in second place, I should say. But Foley late on the brakes. Joyner gives him space, and Joyner, again, going to have to hold on around the outside at turn 5, and he does so. So this is bringing Turmo into play, as well as Matt Williams, and it's allowing Nether just to build a little bit of a lead. And again, Joyner now holds on up the inside, runs a little bit wide, compromises Foley just a little bit. Foley now looks like he's got a slightly better exit out of the final corner. Has a slight overlap, but not quite close enough into turn 1, so he backs out of it. But Joyner wide there, late on the brakes, lost the back end, which is easy to do around here, and there all his hard work, battling with our championship leader, all undone with that slight mistake. And now he's got to contend with the MPC Castrol Racing number 15 of Turmo, and as well as Lime Mitch. So Turmo having a look up the inside at turn 3, and he'll get that job done. And Lime Mitch wants a piece of that action, but Joyner says, no, I want to hold on to P5, at least for now. And if I can, I want to get back into P4. He has got a good exit out of turn 3. Has a look. Both of them very late on the brakes, and Joyner back into P4. Turmo having a look, but Joyner holds on for now. So fantastic racing from Luke Joyner. Not quite as fast as these guys around him, but he's sure making it difficult for them to get by him. And say it every week, but second races is where he generally picks up his best results. So you see Foley, fastest lap of the race, so 15.3. Another thing to take into consideration, track is not as rubbered in as what it is for the first race. So lap times won't be as quick. We won't see times in the low 1 minute 14s. So a 1 minute 15.3 at this stage isn't a bad lap time. As we see Turmo now right in the wheel tracks of Luke Joyner. He pulls out and will try and get by that Holden Astra. And he will do so. Joyner too late on the brakes, also on the marbles, and Turmo should take that position for good now, barring a mistake. And he can set his sights on just sticking around and closing in on Matt Williams in front, while Joyner probably going to have to contend with Lime Mitch, who's actually looking quite pacey. He'll be a bit kicking himself, having that issue and missing the first race. But he did run wide the exit of turn 5, and now that's given our race 1 winner perfect position to overtake, and he gladly accepts. So Ross now up into P6. He's 4 seconds away from his teammate. He's just set the fastest lap of the race on a 1 minute 14.9. And Ross on that last lap, 15.6. So that's his best lap of the race. But he also had to contend with getting past Lime Mitch. And Lime Mitch, a bit of a slide there at turn 2. So he's probably just overdriving it just a little bit. And behind them, got Bolger and Davies battling it out. So Bolger up 2 spots. Davies hasn't had a good reverse grid race so far. In fact, down a spot. And at the moment, can't find a way past the Alfa Romeo of Steve Bolger. That said, though, Bolger hasn't had a good run through turn 3. And they're going to be side by side coming up into turn 4. But Davies will have to go the long way. Much later on the brakes. Going to try and get him on the switchback, but is too far back for that one. And Bolger was quite nice through there as well, so he didn't really lose all that much time. And even though those two are battling, they're now closing in on this battle pack that Turmo leads in P4. I don't think Turmo had a very good final sector. We'll have a look. No, it wasn't terrible. It's just it looks like Joyner's just put together a solid lap is all. And the cars behind him have stuck with him. So Turmo 2.2 seconds behind Matt Williams. Matt Williams 1.2 away from Foley. And Foley is now right behind Nether Relmian, who currently leads with just over 14 minutes remaining. Got Ross making a move now up the inside of Luke Joyner. We've seen Joyner hold on around the outside or just stick with it and then make the move into turn 4. But this time just runs a little bit too wide on the exit, but he has stayed within striking distance. Joyner late on the brakes, sends it up the inside. Ross also late on the brakes, but sees the move coming, gives him space, watches that Astra sail by, and then just turns in and says, "Thanks, bro. I'll hopefully not see you in my mirrors again," as Lime Mitch has taken that place now as well. So Brendan Ross will be eyes forward and focus on the back of the Castrol Racing Audi RS3 in front. And further back, Bolger has dropped behind Dwayne Davies and Mike Coulson, so Bolger made a mistake somewhere when we cut away last lap. And Brendan Ross, purple final sector last lap around 24.0. So quite a bit of pace in that thing. He's just got to get by Termo and hope that Netherelmian holds on for dear life. But at the moment, not looking like he'll last too long, as he's got Brendan Foley side by side with him coming into turn 4. That's Foley a bit earlier on the brakes, looking like he's going to try and set up a move into the final corner. I think he knows he's got the pace and just wants to bide his time, but Matt Williams not far away as well. He's not going to want to leave it for too long. And there's a cigarette paper between Nether and Foley under braking for the final corner. Nether nice and straight on the exit, but Foley just that little bit better. But turn 1, Foley not close enough to make a move. We'll show his nose just to have a look, perhaps find his braking zone or try and distract Nether in front of him. As we see Williams behind, he's a lot of curb at turn 1. Foley a bit later under braking for turn 2 as well. Bit of curb for Williams behind, and that's forced Williams wide. Good exit for Foley. He's been very good on the exit of turn 2. We've seen Lime Mitch off in the background. And Foley having a look up the inside of Nether at turn 3. Later on the brakes, pulls it up. Bit of a slide. Nether will try and get him on the switchback, so it will be a little bit of a drag into turn 4, but Nether not quite close enough. And now he'll need to hope for a bit of slipstream and a little bit of luck, I think, to get back into the lead. Foley a little bit wide at the exit of turn 4, but I don't think it's cost him too much time. And now Nether is going to have to contend with Matt Williams behind, because I think Brendan Foley is just going to edge away. So we see Brendan Ross up the inside of Termo at the final corner, very late on the brakes. No room between the two of them, but Termo holding on for now. Ross with a slightly better exit, a slight overlap, but gets a little bit of helping of slipstream once again, but not quite close enough to make the move stick. He'll try and set it up now into turn 3. And Termo a little bit wide at turn 1. Ross later under braking for turn 2. Much more confident. And both of them wide onto the grass. My Mitch, well, he should probably have Jim's mowing on the side of his BMW as opposed to whatever sponsor he's got there. But Ross up the inside of Termo. And Termo going to try and hold on around the outside. We've seen this a number of times this evening. But Ross able to take the position, but Termo is within striking distance of getting that position back. He tries to make the move stick very late under brakes, and almost a carbon copy of what happened earlier in a couple laps ago between Brendan Ross and Luke Joyner, as he just lets the car that he just overtook go by, as that car tried to make a move to get that position back. But now Brendan Ross is right there in that battle. Well, not only for third place, but also for the lead, because Foley isn't too far ahead. Foley hasn't had a great lap. 15.6. Well, I wouldn't say a terrible lap, but Netherelmian stuck with him. And as has Matt Williams and Termo as well. And Brendan Ross. As we see, Foley a little bit wide there on the exit. I think that slipstream also probably helping now, that just pull him around the track and keep him within striking distance. So there's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then I've got Coulston ninth, Bolger 10th, so the two Alpha Romeos 9th and 10th, and a bit of a gap to the Brownie and Glenn Miles battle, and then they've got Burko, and then even further back we've got Rody and Walsh battling it out for 14th and 15th. But Nether hasn't had a great middle sector this time out. It's lost 4 tenths to Foley in front, and Williams was able to match Brenton Foley in the middle sector, so that's why he's a little bit closer to Nether. So Williams, bit of pace at the moment, but he's got to get by Netherrealmian, and that will cost him time. So it looks like just under 10 minutes to go as Williams a big slide at 2, and the ante has been up just a little bit. So Foley in a bit of clear air, starting to stretch away from Netherrealmian, who is doing a very, very solid job, as is Matt Williams in third. Ross now finally coming through the field. They're stretching away from Termo and Lime Mitch, who have been up and down, battling all race long. Davies been a bit anonymous in this one, but now tries to make the move up the inside of Lime Mitch, but outbreaks himself a little bit, and then allows Lime Mitch to get him on the switchback. And Davies back down into P7. It was Termo wide at turn 4. Up the inside goes Lime Mitch, and I reckon Dane Davies will want a piece of that cake as well. A lot of curb usage for Davies. It sort of forces Termo wide as he tries to avoid, but Termo will hold on to P6. That's a lot of curb usage and a bit of action there. In front of them, though, Netherrealmian has got Matt Williams, and now Brendan Ross all over the back of him. And on that 15.3 for Ross, 15.8 for Williams, and a 15.9 for Netherrealmian. Our race leader, a 15.6. So Ross, fastest man on the circuit. He's just got to get by these guys, and he'll be an outside chance to close down Brenton Foley. But time is running out, and Lime Mitch has got himself up into P5 as we see Matt Williams make a move for P2 on Netherrealmian. Almost too kind to him there. Just lost all momentum, but he is up now into P2. Nether's right there, as is Ross. And we had Nether move straight to the outside to try and get Williams on the switchback, and probably as well just block off Ross as well. So he wants to get P2 back. But he's got to watch himself that he doesn't lose out to Brendan Ross in behind. And he moves very, very late in front of Brendan Ross there, under braking for the final turn. And that's allowed Williams just to edge away a little bit. Brendan Ross is right there. Has a look up the inside, just distracting Nether a little bit. But as we saw in race 1, and we've seen so far, Nether isn't the easiest man to pass. Generally doesn't make too many mistakes when under pressure. That said, though, commentators curse a little bit wide there at the exit of turn 2, but that hasn't actually cost drivers any time by the looks of it, because we see Brenton Foley and Brendan Ross run wide there in race 1, and it didn't cost them any time at all. And it didn't look like it cost Nether any time that time by. But Ross a little bit better through turn 3. Ross not quite close enough to make the move. He'll want to set it up now for the final turn. It's right there, right under the rear wing of that Ford Focus. And looks like it sells the move late. Shows his nose late on the braking, but Nether also late on the braking. Ross smartly puts a little bit more brake force down and avoids contact between the two. He's right there, but he is losing time now. 3.8 seconds off the lead. And you'd have to say with under 4.5 minutes remaining, probably not going to take the race win, but he certainly wants a chance of P2. And he certainly wants P3, that is for sure. As you see, Williams running a little bit wide in front of him. Looks like behind, Turmo's dropped behind Dwayne Davies, and Davies now threatening Lime Mitch. Luke Joyner falling into the clutches of Mike Coulston as Ross now makes the move up the inside at turn 3. We've got the yellows out. And who is that for? That's Matt Williams. Matt Williams is off. What has happened? And Matt Williams is out. So disaster for the FCR Motorsport driver. Let's have a look and see. Ooh, that looks like a wheel problem. Like his wheel has turned off. So we'll just go back and right on board. So he's just turned left. Yeah, no throttle and straight turn left. And it was full lock. It looks like just full lock or half lock left. That normally means... And there's been no power afterwards. So I think that is like his wheel is turned off or lost power. And unfortunately for Williams, who was probably in line for at worst a third, out of the race with under 4 minutes remaining. And that will elevate Nether into P3, Ross into P2, and now this battle between Lime Mitch and Dwayne Davies is for P4. A big shame for Matt Williams, who had put together a pretty solid race, and looking to stay close in the battle between himself and Brendan Ross, who he was in front of prior to this round, but will now certainly be behind after Ross's win in race 1 and now second, it looks like, in race 2. That said, though, it looks like it didn't look like there was much between Ross and Nether at the previous split, and there wasn't. There was only a tenth between them at the previous split, but the last sector, though, Ross has edged away, but Lime Mitch isn't too far away from these guys, as well as Dwayne Davies. So we'll have a look at the lap times when they cross the line. Ross is 16.1, Nether Relmian is 16.4, and then Mitch and Davies are 15.7 and a 15.9 respectively. So this could still be a very hot battle. This looks like Dwayne Davies' good run out of turn 2. But a lot of top speed on that BMW for Lime Mitch. Davies, though, late on the brakes, trying to make the move stick. Lime Mitch trying to hold on around the outside, and I think Lime Mitch will hold on around the outside for now. Cigarette paper between the two of them. A drag now down into turn 4. Mitch has the slight advantage. Dwayne Davies is going to try and go around the outside. Late on the brakes. Mitch was on the brakes a little bit earlier, then got off them. A little bit of contact between the two. Now Davies is going to try and get him on the switchback, but not quite close enough this time. And Davies now having a look up the inside at the final corner. Lime Mitch gives him a little bit of room, but Lime Mitch with the better exit out of the final turn will hold on for now. And it looks like on that Ross has extended a little bit of a gap and a little bit of contact between Davies and Mitch at turn 1. We'll just have a quick little look at that before they get to turn 3. So what has happened here? So it looks like Mitch was a bit wide at turn 1, and a bit late on the race, couldn't quite get the turn in. A little bit of a slide as well, and Davies was up the inside as he's up the inside again, late on the brakes. Bit of contact between the two. It won't cost either driver a position, but it will cost Davies a lot of time, and it will bring Turmo into play. And time now has expired. Brenton Foley has still got a corner to go, so there will be 21 laps in this one, as we see Brendan Ross wide at turn 5. Nether Relmian, he's got 2 seconds over Lime Mitch now, who's got 1.1 seconds over Davies, who's got absolutely nothing over Turmo behind him, and now it's Davies on the defensive. Turmo going to try and go around the outside, but at the final corner he won't get that job done, but it has given him a good run though, that wider turn in, and now he's side by side with Davies into turn 1 as we begin the final lap. Davies gives Turmo space, but will hold on now. And I don't think Davies is going to be close enough to get past Line Mitch, barring a mistake. So I reckon that battle's over for P4. But he is trying now to desperately hold on to P5. But running wide in the Exeter turn 2, I should say, probably not the greatest way to go about it. So he has to go defensive into turn 3. And Turmo probably going to try and get a good run through 3 and set it up for 4. And he does so, but Davies sticking to the middle of the road. And he will hold on. A little bit of a lock-up for Line Mitch in front, but it doesn't drop him too much time. Again, Davies, decent line there through turn 5. Turn 5. But Foley crosses the final corner. Another reverse grid race and another win for Brenton Foley. His first win of the night. Brendan Ross, fantastic fight back. Late charge in the end sees him take P2 after Williams's hardware failure. Another element of well-earned podium for him. It's been coming, and this time a well-deserved third place in the end. Line Mitch, fourth place in the BMW. Good drive and a good battle between himself and Brendan Ross for a little while, as well as Dwayne Davies. Turmo P5, again, he was up there, but a couple of little mistakes dropped him out of that race for the podium. Still, P5, not a bad result. Dwayne Davies in P6, so he did lose out to Turmo in the end. And then we have Luke Joyner in 7th, just getting the better over Mike Coulson, about 3/10 between the two. Steve Bolger, he won't be too happy with his second race after putting in a solid effort in race 1. So he finishes in 9th place. In 10th, we have Brownie for the Cracker Racing team. And then Glenn Miles in 11th. Steve Burko in 12th. Brian Walsh in 13th. Arodi a 10th behind, so close finish between those two. And then Matt Williams, unfortunately for him, would have taken a podium position. Probably would have been P2. But, that error to his computer. Tragedy for him and for FCR Motorsport as well. But he was the only retirement of the race. So, fantastic racing up and down the field in both races. I'm sure many of the drivers will be quite happy with how tonight has proceeded. And I'm sure they can't wait until this round next season as well, because there's plenty of overtaking and defending to be done out there. But just to recap race 2, Brenton Foley, our race winner. Brendan Ross in 2nd place, and Netherelmian taking his first podium position in P3 in the second race this evening. Whew. And thankfully, after that, I can let some other people speak. We have some drivers jumping in to TV time, but we'll cut to our race 1 winner. So, Brendan Ross, not the greatest qualifying session, still solid lap, couldn't quite get on the front row, but you were able just to put it all together, and you were able to hold on for dear life in the end in race 1 there.
Very much dear life. Dwayne put in a pretty good middle and last sector for his quali run, so he did really, really good there. But I think that race 1 was just pretty much, I wanted to keep my eyes forward and just make sure I don't cause an incident. My last couple of races have been pretty shocking, so I've just tried to make up for that and put in a pretty good effort there, and just put in a mega battle with Foley, which was awesome.
Well, it certainly seemed like a concerted effort in both races to give drivers space, which is, from an admin's point of view, fantastic to see. And then, obviously, fought as hard as anybody has all season to hold on to a position. You did lose it for a lap or two, but you're able to get it back, and then you never gave it up.
No, and it's the one thing with Brenton, you've got to make your move back quickly, otherwise he pretty much storms off into the front. So I was pretty lucky there.
Certainly was, but still, congratulations on your race 1 victory. The second race, though, didn't have, obviously, the greatest of starts compared to, obviously, your championship rivals and teammates, but towards the end of from the middle point of that race, I'd say you really started to come alive a little bit, and you're able to obviously get yourself into podium contention.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, but I was caught out on the outside of turn 2, and there was some cars that were going a little bit flip-floppy doing their own thing, so I don't know what exactly happened there, but that sort of put me right to the back, and then pretty much the same thing, just wanted to keep a clean race and make it through it, which was pretty much lucky. I got up there, and pretty bad luck to Matt for having a issue on his end where he fell out of P2, which was pretty much locked in for him.
Yeah, it certainly did look like a P2 for him in the end. Unlucky for him, but for you, still a good evening, a first and a second. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, well, we might as well jump to our championship leader, Brenton Foley, a second and a first, and as well, pole position as well. But that first race, it was very interesting. You made a rare mistake to sort of drop into second place, and then you just couldn't quite hold on to the lead. And Rossi just didn't want to give it back to you after that.
Yeah, it was a wicked battle. I spoke to him after we were pretty much silent for the whole race, and yeah, we both said we pretty much didn't breathe for those last few laps. It was pretty intense, but yeah, as Rossi said, as soon as you get a gap in these cars, it's easy to kind of drive away. So I tried to do that really early and made a bit of a mistake trying to put in a really quick lap and got caught out a little bit. Fought back, and we had a wicked battle leaving each other space. And yeah, I'll definitely have to watch that one back. It was really good.
Yeah, well, you guys may have been holding your breath. I lost mine with 2 corners to go and was unable to speak and had a little bit of a coughing fit. So thanks for trying to kill me once again. But
I tried.
You're welcome.
But that second race, you did what you always seem to do. You're nice and clean, and you're able to get through the field pretty quickly early on. But never made you work for it, though, in the first half of that race there.
Yeah, he parked it perfectly, defending the couple of spots that I had pace on him. I'm lost for words now. He slowed me up right in the right spot where I couldn't utilise my speed. And then obviously out of a couple of corners, he was a bit better than me, so I couldn't get a nice run. But it was good to get one up on Rossi again after he got me race 1.
Certainly, and in the end, a bit of a comfortable result, but it has to be said that the pace night from pretty much the top 8 cars was quite hot, so you couldn't really let up there towards the end.
Not at all. No, I just had to manage the tyres and make sure I kept on it because everyone was still coming. The field, I reckon, in the last couple of races has really tightened up, especially tonight. It was really good. I think the gap in qualifying was tiny and in practice.
Yeah, I do believe the first 3 cars are separated by about, I think, a tenth and a half. So may have even been in the top 4. So yeah, the field spread at this one very, very tight, and it's good to see going forward.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations on another victory and second place.
Thanks very much.
All right. Well, we'll jump over to Nether. Well, Nether, normally it's you interviewing me. This time it's me interviewing you. In the first race, I did unfortunately put the commentator's curse on you, saying that you're never an easy man to pass, and after absorbing all the pressure at Malala and doing again in the first race, it looked like, okay, you're going to settle down and finish a P5 or P6, but you threw it off the road there pretty much 10 seconds after I said that. What happened?
Just missed my braking marker for that 6th turn. It's a bit hard here. The braking markers for that corner are on the right-hand side of the track, whereas a lot of the other corners they're on the left. So you're leading up to more. At least you've got a point of reference on the left-hand side of the track. That's one of the very few turns where the reference marker's on the other side of the track, and I just went past it a bit too much and thought I was braking at the return road or the joining road. When I should have been braking at the 100-metre board. Thankfully, it wasn't too serious. I was able to sort of slide back on relatively easily in behind D2 and continue on. So lost a little bit of time, but thankfully it wasn't too severe.
Yeah, it wasn't a race ender. It did drop you down a few spots and sort of kill your chances for a really good result. But I guess you made up for that in the reverse grid race. Unlike Malala, you're able to hold on a little bit better. And you gave Foley a bit of a run for your money, or his money, And then you didn't make it easy for Matt Williams and Brendan Ross either.
No, I think I had to raise my game to another level, I think, in that last race, which I was really happy to do that. I had a look at my times. I think my worst time was, I think, a 16.6. My best was a 15.6. So that's a pretty decent spread in terms of, keeping it relatively tight together. I was pretty fortunate. I got a good start. I was able to get ahead of the couple of cars that were ahead of me within the first few laps, and it just tried to run my own race and try and build a buffer. I knew at some point the FCR guys would come at me, and I was just hoping that I could leave and be fair and defend fairly. And from judging by the comments, it sounds like I did just that. I was a bit concerned when Matt went a bit deep at turn 3. I didn't know what the issue was. He wiped out the brake marker board. I was already in the process of committing to trying to repass Rossi down at turn 3, and the yellow flag came out, so I just eased out of turn 3 just to make sure I didn't get a pass done under yellow flags. And I had another go somewhere along the line. Of course, I couldn't get back past him, but happy to settle for third. Was really, really happy with my drive in that second race. Felt like I really had a good handle on the car that second race.
Well, it has to be said, even prior to obviously you going off in the first race, it seemed like you did have a fair amount of pace this weekend, and even 2 weeks ago at Malala, you did have a solid amount of pace, although you did have to keep an angry pack behind you. But this time it wasn't. I guess in some ways it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as many cars, but the level of driver was certainly a step or two above what it was a couple weeks ago. But still, a great effort to hold on for a podium position in race 2, and it has to be said, very, very well earned. So well done, Nether, on your first podium of the season.
Thank you very much.
All right, now I was actually going to ask Matt Williams a question about what did happen to him in that second race there, but he has jumped out. So unfortunately, we won't ask him a question. So that'll just about do it for us for now. But I will try and bring up actually the calendar on your screen. Unfortunately, we'll see the AMS in the background. But the next round is in 2 weeks, October 21 from Winton. So that'll be an interesting little circuit, tight and technical. But with these cars, I reckon it'll throw up some decent racing. And then November 4, we have Brian Walsh's Simmons Plains there, which he better show up for, otherwise he is sacked. And then we have Sandown, November 18. And then the final round at Adelaide on December 2. Anyway, hope to see you in 2 weeks' time from Winton. From myself, Lewis Wedding. Hope you've enjoyed round 4 of the TCR Oz series. Have a good one.